Hello, and welcome. Fall 2024 is well underway. We've got Peak Zero Season 3, Daniel to Daniel, Ranma 2 3/4, Bleach, which I still haven't watched yet, PowerPoint Presentation Season 2, and amongst all the heavy hitters we're inundated with, there's one anime I think is going a bit too under the radar, that being Brainrot is a kawaii slime. And it is without a doubt the weirdest anime of the season and perhaps all year. However, this is an anime that I believe needs the attention it can get because there's a lot more to it than you'd think on first glance, which is why you should join me as I continue my journey to discover the perfect anime. Our story begins with Kotaro wanting a friend to be with him at all times, so he plays God and creates a penguin out of pure slime to become his best friend. Only for her to become a slime girl. Honestly, depending on who you ask, that might be a better outcome. And after several years, Kotaro is in middle school and thus begins their daily life of Brainrot barging in and sliming all over the place. And the two get up to your usual school antics like dangerous mad science experiments, terrorizing the rest of the school as a demon, and becoming a worldwide sensation only to instill the fear of mortality to millions of traumatized fans. You know, whatever kids are up to these days, I guess. This anime is so weird, man. It's definitely one you want to watch without predicting what comes next, because if you do, it'll always be the wrong answer. Also, this is a season that's given us a lot of magical girl anime, and Brainrot is a kawaii slime is pretty similar. I know she's not a magical girl specifically, but she has transformation scenes. That should count, shouldn't it? And yes, that means I do consider Attack on Titan to be a magical girl anime. This really is the most brain-rot anime of the year. I've never even heard of my dear friend Nokotan, but that does bring up something else to consider. Now, we need to address the most popular word of 2024 before we continue here, which is brain rot. At this point, brain rot has been used to describe just about everything, so it's essentially meaningless now. But in theory, it mostly refers to slang and humor popular with Gen Alpha, your Skibiddies, your Ohios, your Phantom Taxes, your Mew Streaks, your Gyots, you get the point. I think at this stage in human history, we're using the term brain rot to shame kids for liking things, and I don't really think that's cool. Kids deserve to enjoy media how they consume it. I'm sure what we did as kids was goofy to anyone older than us. Nay, I want children of the world to enjoy life how they want to. And the reason I'm saying that is because I want them to buy plenty of Witchleys. And each Witchley comes with a bottle of fresh greed goo. Order your Witchley today. Kids these days have it easy. They're all able to start their winter arcs watching their talk to us. But back in my day when I was hauling through the mines, we had to dig deep for our brain rot. It wasn't every day you found a primo Morshu or laser you hadn't seen before. But the youth should enjoy their hobbies for as long as they can, which is where I believe that Brainrot is a kawaii slime is actually one of the deepest and most engaging anime of the year. Okay, hear me out on this. I'm about to make more of a stretch than what Brainrot can do. So, Kotaro, the main character, really doesn't seem to get along with his own creation. Anytime he's got something planned out, Brainrot comes in and ruins it SpongeBob to Squidward style. But nobody really thinks so other than him. He's constantly embarrassed and ashamed to be in the same company as her. Keep in mind, Kotaro is just an 8th grader. He's only like 13 or so, and at that age, it's around the time that kids start distancing themselves from what they grew up with. I was a middle schooler once, and it sucked, but you don't need me telling you that. Everyone hated middle school. I mean, who wasn't cringy at that age? Shaq?
O'Neal is up there with Shaquille O'Neal. Then there's Shaquille O'Neal.
But unlike most 8th graders at the time, I continued with many of the same hobbies, and I'm glad I did, even if most of my peers didn't agree with me. Of course, this doesn't mean you can't grow and experience more of the world too. I can't help but feel that Kotaro is a window to how many of us felt about our childhood at that age. It's not like Kotaro doesn't like cute things, as there's Cutie-chan, which is a mouse mascot of the corporate world here. Kotaro's a huge fan and always has been, but doesn't want others to know about it. Even though everyone else at his middle school isn't ashamed to talk about the things they love, it's just in Kotaro's own head. He actually reminds me a lot of the greatest MC in all of romance anime, Kyotaro Ichikawa from The Dangers of My Heart. Now, I'm planning to still make a video about this masterpiece relatively soon, but the comparison here is that Gyotaro constantly beats himself up with how he believes others will perceive him and his actions. I'm going to assume that the majority of my audience have already finished middle school, and for the sake of my YouTube career, I sure hope so. I guarantee you viewers, I live a much more boring life than you'd think I do, and I take pride in that. But the point I would like to make is that your hobbies can stay with you. Some of my interests I didn't want to keep for long. I used to watch a lot of anime as a kid, but when I got to high school, I decided to take a break that lasted for many years because I just wanted to live a normal high school life. And I greatly enjoyed high school, I really did, but it was also at the expense of giving up things I cared deeply about. And then I realized later on that nobody cares what your hobbies are. Life isn't a Call of Duty lobby. Your interests are your interests, no matter which age you fancy them. Anytime Kotaro is chastising Puniru or others for liking cute things, it just makes me feel depressed, honestly. I want the guy to enjoy life. I want him to realize that Puniru is a positive impact on his life. Unfortunately, Kotaro does come to realize this at different moments. He's willing to stand up for Puniru and save her even when she may not really need it. I'm looking forward to seeing the character progression of Kotaro himself. He might be a bit rough to watch at times, but he's a kid. Like, we should be willing to cut him some slack. He's gotta figure out how much he really enjoys Puniru, and I'm sure he'll get there. This anime is also severely underwatched, and I'm going to partly blame myself for that, because in my recent Ultimate Guide video, I didn't even mention this anime once, since I didn't know it existed. But I read every comment I get and take your suggestions into consideration, and some of you mentioned how much you're enjoying this. I'm glad I decided to watch it, and it really hasn't disappointed. It's loud, in your face, and doesn't give you any room to breathe, but anime like that are okay once in a while. A lot of people weren't too fond of My Dear Friend Okutan because the anime was a lot more tame than originally marketed. I still enjoyed it, but I think I'm enjoying this one more. As I'm currently editing this video, this anime has barely over 6,000 members on Mal, which is nothing. That's way too low for an anime that's this creative and also really well animated. Maybe it's because this is an adaptation from CoroCoro magazine, which actually shows up quite a bit in this anime. I've watched 2 anime this year where the characters reference a publishing source with this and Undead Unluck, and neither time did it break the fourth wall. It's just weird. And if you aren't aware, CoroCoro is the children's magazine, which I actually have a history with. I haven't been into Pokemon for several years, but back in the day, the only way we got new information about this series was if it showed up in CoroCoro magazine. Pokemon Black and White were some of my most anticipated games of my life. And I remember when Zoroark's first silhouette was teased on Japanese TV. I was so much looking forward to a hastily scanned JPEG from a children's magazine to make my week. I'll never forget that for much of 2010, once every month, I was reminded of how it felt being a child, all starry-eyed and curious, excited for what comes next. That's how this anime is making me feel, and it's been pretty fun. However, I wouldn't call it an anime for kids, but I would say it brings us one step closer to finding the perfect anime. My rating for Puniru is a Kawaii Slime is a marketable plushie out of 10. I've been working behind the scenes on several upcoming videos. I'm planning to be pretty productive with the channel for the next few months. I'm really hoping to get to 5,000 subscribers before the end of the year, so if you enjoyed this video, then be sure to sub Slime for more videos that I'll make gushing about ReZero because oh my god, Season 3 has been amazing. More videos coming soon, but first I need to get this slime out of my ears. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.